It's another riding video. Hey, welcome YouTube. Glad you came and checked out this video. This time on this ride, I want to talk about the motorcycle journey that I've been on and you may also be on. I enjoy making these videos and sharing some of my experiences in motorcycle ownership, motorcycle riding. If you like this sort of content, please go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button, and hit the bell if you want notifications. I'm always interested in people's background. When I talk to people about motorcycles and with anything, I'm interested in, just talking about performing music or motorcycles or mountain biking, whatever it is. Just to find out what people are thinking and what people have done in the past. So I thought I'd give some of my background, and I'm interested to see if any of you have, a similar journey or maybe something very different. Yeah, so, your journey may have started just recently, or maybe you are a lifelong rider. Maybe you're not riding anymore. Maybe you're looking to get back into it. Maybe you want to ride, you need to learn, but it all plays a part on where you are now as a rider. And what bikes you have, where you ride, and when you ride, and all that. A lot of you may have a similar journey to mine. I've ridden off and on throughout the years, and now I am back on. Time to overtake. This guy's going too slow. At some point when I was about 12, I think my dad brought home two of these 1960s era Yamahas. And I guess he wanted to get us interested in something so we would stay out of trouble. I have 4 older brothers, so he has 5 boys in the house, and just wondering what to do with them. So I think we all rode that thing around the yard in our suburban house. It's where I learned to use the clutch and learn to shift and use the throttle. And we rode it around the yard until Dad found a place that had some trails. And then we quickly found out that the shocks on those things, they would bottom out when you ran over a pine cone. So from there, the dirt bike interest began. He bought a couple of Yamaha Enduros after that. He bought them from a friend. There was I remember a 100cc purple thing and a 175 Enduro. In high school, I bought a YG-100. Rode that thing in the hills with some friends. My next oldest brother got a Honda 250 Elsinore right about that time. Holy cow, that thing had so much power, you could hardly kick the thing over. So I went through those dirt bike years, had a lot of fun. So I ended up in college and I didn't have transportation, so I bought my first road bike, and it was a Yamaha, again, Maxim 550. And at this time, I had no insurance, no helmet, there was no helmet law. And I think back on it now and I kind of have a holy cow moment. And I wonder why I lived through it. It's like, fortunately, or unfortunately, however you look at it, I only had that bike a few months and someone stole it from the parking lot where I worked in broad daylight, so never saw that one again. There's some fun twisty roads here. This is a fun hill to climb. So at the top of the hill, I'm going to turn around and go back down. And then some years later, I bought another YG-125, so I could ride with my brother, who had recently got a 1990 Kawasaki KDX200. But yeah, so I end up with this YG-125 riding with my brother, who bought this brand new Kawasaki, and not very long after that I ended up buying exactly the same bike he had. The thing just rode, compared to that old YZ, this Kawasaki just rode like a dream. So we both had the same bike, brand new. It was the only new bike I ever bought. Every other bike I've bought used, and I've had pretty good luck with that. Had the KDX for some time. Had a couple fun years riding on the trails and fire roads in eastern Washington. And then the kids came along and I ended up selling that. And it was a long time before I had another bike. But at some point in there, when the kids were still pretty young, I ended up buying another road bike. I got a Honda American Classic Edition 750. It was a fun, retro-looking bike. The first time I'd ever sat on one, started it up, and I was hooked. It was the closest thing to a Harley I'd ever been on. It was a good, fun bike. I mean, I only rode it occasionally, though, and after a while, just decided it was time to sell it, so I sold that one. And not a year or two later, I ended up buying another bike, an older one, a 1982 Honda 650, a CB650 4-cylinder. That was a sweet bike in really good condition for its age. Same thing though, I just didn't have a whole lot of chance to ride it. I didn't have a very long commute at all during these years, and so I ended up selling that one. So fast forward about 10 years, and I found myself with the kids moving out and had a new job that had a 20-mile commute. And I had been looking at for a long time the Harley 883 Iron and just loved the look of that bike. So I found one, found a 2016, and picked it up for a great price. And the commute to work was a built-in opportunity to ride, so I put some miles on that bike and really enjoyed it. Somehow, after a while, though, I got interested in a Ducati Scrambler and the bikes that are like it. I test rode a Scrambler and I loved it. It had this more upright riding position, feet a little more underneath you, lighter, more flickable bike, a lot more torque and pep, even though the size or the cc's of the engine about the same as that Iron. I like the feel of it, probably because it reminded me of the off-road riding I'd done as a kid. But I started looking at kind of the maintenance requirements on the Duke and looked more into the Japanese bikes. I zeroed in on that XSR700, found a 1-year-old model at a dealer for a great price. I rode it and I was hooked. I bought it that day. And the Harley, the guy I bought it from had always told me, if you ever sell it, give me the first shot at it. So I called him and he bought it back from me, the same price I bought it from him. After about, I guess I had it for 2 years, I want to say. Year and a half. No, it was 2 years. So the situation and journey that led me to riding again in my 50s was a pretty long one. I had the dirt bike experience that created this love of riding in me. I tried street bikes along the way, but I never had a reason to ride it much. And then I found I had more time. When the kids moved out, I had a commute. I had the experience and love of riding, and here I am, just riding again, loving it. And all my riding has been pretty recreational. I never got into sport bikes or racing, either off-road or on-road. Really just for recreation and really not for practical transportation. I mean, a lot of people in different countries, motorcycles are just practical transportation, but for me it's been all about the experience of riding. And there's a thrill to it, even if you're just commuting. I commute and usually find some kind of a back road to take home. It just makes it a lot more fun to go to work and good time coming home. So, what about you? I mean, have you had any of these bikes along the way? I've had a bunch of different bikes, but yeah, what are some of the different bikes you've had along the way? Who has a similar journey? Maybe yours is really different. Maybe you're really into racing, or maybe super into off-roading, or just always been street biking. Are you someone wanting to learn to ride? I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I think I'll do a separate video on that. Leave me your comments. Love to hear from you. Thanks for checking out this video, and ride safe.